Welcome to Dictators v Democrats Democracy Briefing, where you get this week's quick-fire news from fronts around the world in the war on democracy. If you like this kind of work, please do remember to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, and there will be plenty more of this coming. This week, Trump and Putin in Alaska. Eesh. Serbia's streets are ablaze, and Bolivia just had a huge political shift. On the American, Russian, and Ukrainian fronts, the humiliation of the arsenal of democracy. It was hard to watch. Putin's visit to Alaska was a keynote in Trump's ongoing humiliation of the United States, a country that once lived by the mantra, speak softly and carry a big stick, now speaks loudly and carries nothing at all. And Putin made no real concessions. He's stuck on his maximalist goals and demanded full control of the Donbass, bypassing Ukraine's defensive lines and forcing Ukraine to cede territory to Russia that Russia has failed militarily to conquer. No NATO membership for Ukraine, ensuring the war can go on at a date of Putin's convenience. Official recognition of the Russian language and Russian Orthodox Church in Ukraine. The Russian Orthodox Church, of course, often accused of being an arm of foreign intelligence, and its head, Patriarch Kirill, was in the KGB. And finally, international recognition of Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea, essentially giving any nation permission to invade and annex its neighbors. And Trump appears to have conceded. He said President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, and then added no getting back, Obama given Crimea, and no going into NATO by Ukraine. Some things never change. Well, his perfidy and his cowardice never changes. The truth is simple. Putin can end the war immediately by stopping his invasion, and he chooses not to. And Trump refuses to call it what it is, imperialist aggression. I asked Anthony Scaramucci, Trump's short-lived communications director, why Trump is so weak on Putin. And like many others, he believes that the Russians have compromising material on him. And given Trump's long association with the pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, who allegedly once described Trump as having, quote, no moral compass, Jesus, it's not hard to imagine what that material could be. This is a humiliation on a historic scale. The US once prided itself on being a beacon of democracy. It did not always live up to that promise, but it always defiant against fascists and Soviets alike. And now Trump welcomes a man who allegedly paid bounties on the Taliban to kill American soldiers, while Ukrainians, let us not forget, fought alongside the US in Iraq and Afghanistan. Right now, European leaders are in Washington, D.C. with President Zelensky, trying to talk Trump out of this madness. Now, I wish I could say that I was hopeful. But maybe this is the moment that Europe finally realizes we cannot rely on the US. We must defend ourselves. We must back Ukraine, and we must be willing to send European troops as peacekeepers if a ceasefire comes. Because if Ukraine falls, it will not stop there. The next trench lines will be built near Tallinn, Riga, Warsaw, Berlin, Paris, and maybe one day even London. And yes, there is now video of a Russian armored vehicle in Ukraine, a captured American M113, flying both the Russian tricolor and the US stars and stripes. The humiliations continue. And on to the Serbian front. Serbia's streets are ablaze. Protests have raged since the Novi Sad railway disaster claimed 16 lives last year, and now they have escalated after opposition parties defeated the ruling SNS in regional elections. SNS-linked protesters painted Serbian flags on buildings, murals often protected by police. It was a provocation, and in a country of Serbia's history, people saw it for what it was. Now, I spoke to my sources in Serbia. They said it's not about the flags. It's about rampant jingoism. And clashes soon erupted. In Novi Sad, pro-government protesters barricaded themselves in the SNS offices and threw fireworks and stones out at demonstrators. And there are images of plainclothes security forces in the crowd, and one of which even fired his pistol in the air. And police brutality is on the rise. Stun grenades, tear gas, and even allegations of threats to SA protesters during arrests. And people warn that this could be a strategy by President Vučić. Embattled, cornered, desperate to cling to power, he may soon call elections, positioning himself as the only man who can restore stability. And it's straight out of the authoritarian playbook. As Timothy Snyder wrote, modern tyranny is terror management. When the terrorist attack comes, remember that authoritarians exploit such events to consolidate power. Do not fall for it. Swap terror for protest, and the method is the same. Russia, of course, has sided with Vučić. The foreign ministry declared, "We cannot remain unresponsive to what is happening in brotherly Serbia." Sinister. And on to the Bolivian front, elections yesterday delivered a shock. For the first time in 20 years, the socialist mass movement has been defeated. The runoff will pit right-wing ex-president Jorge Tuto Quiroga against centrist Senator Rodrigo Paz. The country has been drowning in its worst economic crisis in 4 decades. Inflation hit 16% in July, breadlines have returned, and Bolivians have voted against the status quo. MAS was once the party of an economic miracle under Evo Morales, lifting millions into the middle class, but commodities have collapsed. The miracle ended, and Morales himself is now holed up in Chapare, allegedly evading arrest over sexual misconduct charges he denies, protected by supporters with sticks and shields. And he has called on them to spoil their ballots in the upcoming elections. And on to terra firma, the front to defend the world. The Trump administration is not only undermining democracy, it's undermining the planet. A US Department of Energy report tried to cast doubts on the climate crisis, claiming concerns about fossil fuels are overblown. And the aim is clear: to dismantle the legal endangerment finding that underpins US climate policy. But scientists are fighting back. The National Academies of Scientists launched a full review of the evidence. Its president, Marcia McNutt, said, quote, "It's critical that federal policymaking is informed by the best available scientific evidence." And meanwhile, Trump's officials delete or block climate data, the political equivalent of hiding your head in the sand, or as the film says, don't look up. Andrew Dessler, a climate researcher at Texas A&M, warned attacks on science are dangerous because they erode one of society's most effective tools for understanding the world. The Trump administration has made enabling global warming a deliberate policy goal. It is good that scientists resist, but it is bad that they have to. And on to other fronts around the world. In Cameroon, presidential elections are scheduled for the 12th of October. Appeals from disqualified candidates are currently under review. In Guinea, a referendum for return to civilian rule is set for the 21st of September, but coup leader Mamadi Doumbouya has ensured that he can run himself. And in Myanmar, the military junta has called for elections in December this year. Despite a raging civil war, nobody expects these elections to be free or fair. And in Hong Kong, freedom fighter Jimmy Lai's trial is wrapping up. A British citizen is charged under China's draconian national security law, while the UK presses ahead with plans to allow a giant new embassy for the People's Republic of China in London. And finally, the culinary front. Pizza really is proof that true love exists. I had an incredible one at Napoli on the Road in Richmond, London, and no, they are not paying for this plug. I do, however, highly recommend it, but if you ask for pineapple, you may be defenestrated. This has been Dictators v Democrats, the democracy briefing. Happens every week, every Monday. Please do remember to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell thing for more. And always remember, democracy is non-negotiable.